Hey guys, my name is Titan and I welcome you to episode number 2 of my new Cities Skylines 2 series Schwanach. This is the area within the last episode, sort of the main entrance to the whole city, mainly, or the, historic entrance to the city, mainly the station area, the station district, which to my liking turned out really good. By now we already have some traffic going on here, and what I'd like to do today is the area right behind the station with sort of the more modern city entrance. And what I'd like to do here is a monstrosity of a 70s intersection. So the 70s, when, you know, the car or the city planning for the car really took off, and huge intersections and huge streets were pushed through the city to make the cities ready for the car and for masses of cars coming to the city. So what I'd like to do today is develop sort of this whole area right here behind the station. Like, I don't know what this is, why it's on this map, but it's the perfect spot to incorporate it into a little park that is right behind the station, something that I quite like and I would like to incorporate in this city as well. But for the most part we will focus on this area right here, which is the center of today's attention, and the city entrance, the new city entrance. And I would like to draw some inspiration from, let's switch over to Google Maps, from here. This is the city of Hanover, a medium-sized German city, around 500,000 people-ish, I think. And they have, this is the historic Old Town Core, or well, what's left of the historic Old Town Core, more like. The station is on the northern side, I think. Well, sort of northern side of the city. And to the south, they have this monstrosity of an intersection. You can see it's very pedestrian unfriendly. Could still be worse, but I've cycled across that intersection. It really wasn't fun. So I'd like to do this in our city today. As well, because in Cities Skylines down here we'd have our station, and then we have this road coming from the left side and going further to the right side, which I think would fit our city perfectly. And so I would like to incorporate that intersection in our city as well. And before we actually start building this intersection, which I will probably do in a time lapse, you see I already made using Road Builder. Using Road Builder, I already placed down or created and placed down some roads that we're gonna use. Basically what you see is that it's more or less urban roads, I guess. Either empty roads with only gravel shoulders on the side, or with pedestrian walkways, or pet paths on the side, that we can use to make this huge intersection today. So I will just jump into a time lapse now and make this monstrosity, and we'll see how it turns out. Although I think I already tested it and it should work out just wonderfully. So let's see what we're gonna do here. And so this is Titan now speaking from the off. Hello! And we dive right into the creation of this big intersection. And the first thing I'm doing here is that I'm splitting the main road coming from the city center off into 2 separate roads. And then we have the same set of separate 3-lane roads that pass by the city right here. And that is connected to the main road coming from the city by 2 simple curves, as I'm doing right here. And so the thought of this whole intersection is that you can switch lanes, you can do a left or right turn into the city and out of the city with as few barriers as possible, with as few limitations blocking the road, or decreasing the speed with which you can pass by this intersection as possible. And to achieve this is that the only real intersection with traffic lights we have is at the very center of this intersection, which is what you see right there. And so you have all these you have the roads that split up into individual lanes, and you then have these individual lanes that actually do a left turn or a right turn. And the only traffic light you really have is at the very center of the intersection to allow for a very smooth and a very undisruptive, I suppose, car ride into the city and out of the city, which was the goal of this enormously large piece of car infrastructure right here. And to further give that point that it is indeed car infrastructure and not necessarily thought to inhabit pedestrians or cyclists to enable them a smooth ride across the intersection, we're adding this huge pedestrian overpass in the very center of the intersection right here. And the thought of that really is that you have this a lot on these large 70s traffic intersections, that you have these overpasses that basically only serve the purpose of dividing the room up between cars that are not blocked by pedestrians and vice versa. Though usually it is the pedestrians that take the short end of the trade, or the short end of that pull the short straw. And so the pedestrians have to go out of their way, climb up some ramps and then down some ramps again, which takes a lot more time. And for disabled people, for cyclists, for families with children and children in strollers, it takes a lot more time and effort to cross the intersection right here. While if you have a car, you can just pass by in a matter of seconds, which is just really annoying. And at the end of the day, it's a huge 70s car intersection that actually was quite fun building, I have to admit, but this is supposed to be a bit of a realistic city and not an idealized city as for example Wederstein. Alright then, I think this went rather well. I added these elevated pedestrian paths after I was done with the intersection. They aren't there in the original, but I was thinking that with an intersection this huge, it's very annoying to have only these 3 pedestrian crossings on either end of the intersection. Not that this isn't any less annoying for pedestrians, cyclists, wheelchair users especially, but it is bad infrastructure, to say the least. It is very bad infrastructure, but still I'm happy it's here just because of the monstrosity that it is. I also cut the original has pedestrian intersections all in the center of the whole intersection. I removed those because it was too finicky to work around with them. Now that all this is done, we can actually continue and do some more beautiful things, some more interesting things, some more nice to look at things than intersections. Now, the idea I had for this huge intersection overall is that it is located right where some sort of outer city fortification used to be. So let's say the old town used to be there with its old medieval city gates and stuff, and then quite a bit further out there was another ring around the city that also encompassed the historic suburbs of the city, as well as some farms even. And here used to be one of those outer gates. There wasn't a real wall around it, but sort of it was the border of the city proper. And when you wanted to enter this whole radius here, you had to pay your tax and you had to pay your fees, and this was one of those places where you had to pay your fees. And so the idea I had that we could emulate these houses with the small police station from the German pack, because I think they fit that idea quite nice, even though we maybe should push them as far away from the road as we can, like this. Yeah, are they still in a line? I think so, right? Yeah, I think they're perfectly aligned. No, maybe I still need to move them. Well, I can do it later. But yeah, so these used to be like guard houses or something where the guards were in there and either of these two buildings, you had to pay your fee for entering or leaving the city with your goods if you wanted to trade inside the city. That was very common back in the days, and you can often see remnants of that, and these are the remnants in this city right here. And just to add a little bit more variation, I'm giving this building its garages in the back, and this building gets the roof dormers, so that the buildings look a bit more different, but still give the vibe of these historic guardhouses. Now, with all that being done, I'd like to continue in the spirit of that and maybe do a little bit of a park around it, and some road surely has to go off the main road as well to just connect the residential areas in that and that direction over there. So let's just do that and see how that goes. Yes, we're jumping right into the creation process here again. And so for the first thing, I thought that we might have like a little square in between these guardhouses to give just a nod to the historic purpose it has. There would be a large square where maybe traders back in the days had to have their carts checked for their goods and then have to pay the respective tariffs in order to be allowed to enter the city. And this is why this little square with the fountain is there, but also to just emphasize the space in between these two buildings. And since, well, we have some very large roads there, I decided to put some fences around it, which I think is a little detail that adds quite a lot to this space, to this little square there. Now then, next we add some roads all around this area. There's nothing in particular to say about the way I laid out these roads there. It's just that I wanted the residential areas to sort of follow the shape of the large road that we have here, and in between the main road that leads out of the city and the intersection and the residential areas, I wanted to have some park and garden areas to just block the view and shield the residential areas from noise. But first of all, we're doing this area right here, right next to the bridge. And this is really the entrance into the city. When you come by car, this is the first thing you see, and of course this was also sort of was the case in probably like the 1880s or 1870s when this area was first developed. And so what you have here is this really big area, the large street, sort of more of a square than a street with stately houses. As I'm plopping down right here, just editing some of the surfaces there. Most of this is cut out because it's very repetitive at the end of the day, but I did it, so I just wanted to include a little bit of that. But no, where was I? Yes, you have this almost large square right here with some green spaces to just make it look more interesting, make it look more livable. You have different kinds of pavement and different kinds of cobblestone. You see, I'm using the gray cobblestones here. In the middle, I use these yellowish cobblestones to add some variety. Then next to the buildings we just plopped down, there is sort of an alternation between green spaces and trees and just pavement, just to make this look more manicured, more orderly, like a green space that it actually is, even though it is a car-infested wasteland. But at least in this case, this car-infested wasteland, if we ignore the huge intersection and look at the square in front of these guardhouses, this car-infested wasteland has a more historic side to it that can still be seen. You know, with these hedges, I just placed them along the road to shield the view, to block the noise, and just to give a visual edge, a visual border between the park area and the residential areas we have there, and the not human scale car infrastructure on the other side of these hedges. And yeah, I think it just went very well. I think it looks very believable, very plausible. Adding these bushes here to just give a little bit of detail. Actually, this is purely because I didn't like having only the manicured grass there, and some trees as well. And yeah. Now, I think that just went wonderfully. I noticed once I was doing all this that I didn't leave any room for tram tracks. So I suppose this is one of those cities where they got rid of trams in the 70s and never bothered to, rebuild them, because I'd need to overhaul, or I'd need to change this whole monstrosity of an intersection now to squeeze trams in again, which is just not gonna happen at this stage. Maybe at a later stage, but for now, I suppose this is one of those cities that is a bad example in terms of public transport. Oh well. It wasn't planned, but or maybe trams just don't go over this bridge and down these streets, but being right next to the main station, kind of strange. We'll see. Anyway, now I'd like to continue detailing or developing this area here with the little park in the center, right behind the station. Now, given that this whole area is a bit elevated, I'm not quite sure how to do the transition between the area down here where the station is and everything up here that is developed then. So I'll see what I can come up with. Probably, or actually, let's see if we can do that. I mean, of course, there would be a street right along the back entrance here, and now we already have a retaining wall, which is kind of glitched out. Of course it is. Well, but I think that's also not really ideal. Can I? Oh no, now I can move it. So maybe back here we bulldoze the land up here and keep it elevated all along the train tracks. I mean, it doesn't need to be as flat, but you know, just elevated. We'll plop some trees there or something like it is already, but right behind the station, in order to use the back entrance here, we'll see that we can get a bit of a slope like this. Yeah, I think this is much better, and see that we can smoothly and seamlessly transition it into this area on this side right here, and then further into this little park, so that we have, I mean, actually, why am I just talking? I can do it at the same time. So we have a street, and then from the center, and this is now a bit difficult again, from what do I need to deactivate? Apparently this. So from the center there is a road leading up to this little park, not necessarily the main park of the city, but very fitting place for a park, at least. In the middle of the park isn't symmetrical. That's not an issue. It's not an issue. And I thought in the center of the park we could place the French water tower asset. I think that's fitting quite well. Let's just see that we can extend this road into the center of this whole park, roughly like this, I think. Yeah, and then we can place the water tower in the center of the park as a sort of focal point. Because, sometimes water towers, especially richly ornamented water towers like this is, even though it's... I might need to tweak my light settings a bit, because this is bright as the sun. But, especially richly ornamented water towers can can quite often be found in the center of parks or just focal points in the city. So this is what we're going to do here, and then I will just develop roughly this area here rather quickly, because it's just plopping buildings down and we won't do anything more there. And I will just continue in the same fashion on this street and at the backside of this street, and yeah, that's probably then everything we're gonna do today. But again, this likewise will have been a huge plot of land already. So let's get into the time lapse and more or less finish this episode off. Yes, and in this last part of the time lapse, we're just starting with some roads all around the park right here. Now again, I went for a sort of irregular grid kind of thing. So we have a grid that was planned in the 1870s, possibly, but it's more or less irregular. It's not a perfect grid like in American cities or also in some European cities. It's a bit broken up, it's a bit edgy, it's a bit wonky. To my liking, makes it look, yeah, just gives it a little bit more character. And since I plopped down all these buildings individually anyway, again, I'm cutting most of this out because I think you know what I'm doing there. Since I'm plopping down all these buildings individually anyway, having this sort of irregular grid really isn't a problem, and just gives me that perfect amount of control over all the buildings that I just like and need, so that I can carve this city into the very image of what I imagine for this area right here. And as long as the road is rather straight, this is really easily done. And otherwise, a bit of move it and we have it as well. Now we have this little school building here that I sort of imagine that you have the school building in the middle of the block. You have the usual residential and mixed and commercial buildings around it, but the school reserved some areas for a playground and for this tennis court right there. And now here with these buildings, I thought we might sort of already transition into the suburbs and some low-rent housing. The detailing around those is rather lackluster since they're at the very edge of the plot of land that I'm detailing today. I might change that, but maybe it's just in line with the style of this whole city, which is more, as I said, detailing on a macro level. Now here we are in the park, and I mean, for the park, I really just thought I could just, you know, draw some irregular pedestrian paths, since we don't have really functional parks like in the Park Life DLC for Cities 1 yet, and I hope this will come for Cities Skylines 2 as well. I'm just putting down some playgrounds and irregular paths, and that's it. Now here on the other edge of the plot of land of the district we're detailing today, I'm having this big building here, and I thought this building would be a great focal point. If you're coming from the highway and heading into the city, you would see this big focal point of a building right there on the edge of the main street, with its large balcony and glass facade looking out into the countryside. So it forms a great focal point when you enter the city, but also offers some great views if you live into the building. And I mean, you kind of also look down on a heavy amount of cars, I would assume. So I suppose the windows are very good insulated, but you're also looking into the countryside, which is really nice. Now the last bit for today is the whale yard. The whale yard we already started in the last episode of Schwanach right here, and it's just a perfect opportunity to extend it a little bit. Now this is not really the main whale yard of the city. There's bound to be a much larger one in the future, but this one is just a smaller one right next to the station for, you know, storing some trains and yeah, maybe have some trains on hold for other trains to overtake them. Just what you usually find around central stations, some rail infrastructure. It's really easy to build, and again, using the ore surface right here, it actually works much better than even the gravel surface. because using the gravel surface for the gravel in between the tracks looks very homogeneous, I suppose, but using the ore surface gives a bit more of a variety there, something that I really like, so I'll continue using that. Then in between the tracks we have some bushes, sinking them into the ground to have them more as tufts of grass really. And on the other side of the rail yard here, I thought, let's place some industrial buildings. Maybe there's some warehouses in there, maybe there are garages in there, maybe there's also offices of the rail lines of the maybe there's changing rooms for the train drivers and stuff. And lastly, I figured out you can actually plop vehicles, so I'm doing just that to add some life to this little rail yard we have here, and plopping down some vehicles to achieve that. I'm using the metro model here as a regular train, but I mean, we could imagine it's some sort of regional or commuter train. It works very well for what we have at the moment and just adds very, very nice bit of character. Same with these cargo cars right here. Well guys, I think all this went rather well. I'm actually quite satisfied with how this whole area turned out again. I think you noticed that in the time-lapse already in the past few seconds when I wrapped everything up, that let's say the far side of this main road, I'm not quite sure what to do there, because I'm not sure if I should continue with some Gründerzeit development on that side as well, or just have it sort of already transition into there's some low rent housing here, and further back there could be some low density housing then. I'm not sure if I'm gonna do that, because it's still very close to the city center, but on the other side I wanted to make a smaller city, not necessarily a city of 500,000 people, where this wouldn't work. Really wouldn't work. So I'm not sure about that. I think we'll see that in a few videos down the line, probably how the whole city develops, also what other buildings become available. And then I think we'll come up with something better then. Of course, if you have a suggestion, if you have a suggestion, then write it in the comments and I will read it, and we'll see what we can do there that works a bit better than that. With everything else, I'm really satisfied with this intersection, even with the pedestrian path. These two police stations as former guard houses work really, really well. I'm very satisfied. The park here is, I mean, it's nice and chill. I could really imagine that if I'm waiting for the train, instead of waiting on the platform, I would go into the park and sit there on the bench and just read a little bit in the sun, which I tend to do actually when I have very long waiting times. So I thought just like I like to do that in reality, so I just made something that I know from reality and I like in reality as well. So that's why the park is here. I think it works wonderful. The houses on the far side, or on the side that is not going to the city, but you know, the buildings that face the other way, they're already rather small. So in that sense, I think transitioning to low density housing and to low rent housing in that direction isn't too wrong, because these houses already grow smaller as well. But I think it just works so well how we have these tall houses here in the foreground, and then we go up that hill, but the houses are more or less on the same height. I think that looks really great, and so these small houses work just fine. And yeah, I'm really satisfied with this video today, or I mean, I don't know the full video yet, but you know the full video, and I hope you're satisfied with this video, because this is about it for today. Guys, thanks for watching again, it was fun. I'm looking forward to the next videos of this city. I'm actually quite motivated, finally, with Cities Skylines 2, and I hope you're as well, or at least you're starting to get motivated with the new assets and the new possibilities we finally get in this game. And yeah, I'm really looking hopeful in the future again. That's it for this video. Thanks for watching, and feel free to hop onto my Discord server. The link is down in the description if you want to get in touch with me, if you have any ideas, suggestions, or just questions. Want to chat with other people that also follow my work. Link is in the description. Join in there and we can have some fun together. And of course, the biggest of thanks to the people who support me on Patreon. You are the best, and if you also want to support me on Patreon in the future, of course, then also again for custom assets and sort of developer diaries into what I'm doing in terms of asset creation and videos. Link is also down in the description, and feel free to have a look there. No need to join, but thanks for the support I'm getting from you guys. In any case, that's it for today. Stay tuned, stay healthy for the next one, and I'll catch you probably in a week. Until then, bye.